Hi, everybody, and welcome to Build Meets World. Great addition here we have live here on this Friday afternoon with my friend Sam. Sam, how are you today?
I'm great, Marcy. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you here. So, as we talk about this broadcast getting out into the world. Sam and I did have some time together in Dallas. So, Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're coming from today?
I'm coming to you live from Dallas, Texas. I'm with BakerTriangle Prefab. We are a subcontractor trade partner in the great state of Texas. I specifically am here in our fabrication facility where we fabricate our prefabricated exterior wall panels. So when you were here a few weeks ago, we were here in our fabrication facility talking about wall panels, exterior envelope solutions. So yeah, that's where I am today.
Awesome. And I think you can recognize where I'm at today. You know where I'm at?
That looks like the test wall.
Yeah. So Sam has come to Cleveland. Sam, it's raining here today. Like it was raining when I was in Dallas. So it's a little gloomy, but yeah, we had a great time. And I know, right? We had a great time coming here, working on some testing. We actually did some air and water leakage testing, which was on this equipment right here. And maybe in the future, we'll do some thermal testing, which can also do the air and water behind me. Now, just so everybody knows, Sam, I feel like you're a good friend of mine. We didn't coordinate outfits though, did we?
No, we just woke up on the same side of the bed today, but just several states away. Yeah, we decided to throw the vest on today. Who doesn't like a good vest though,
Exactly. They're so multi-purpose. They got pockets. You could, wear them lots of different ways. Well, so Sam, I'm excited to have you on, as I was excited when I was there in Dallas to talk about this thing called prefab and prefabrication, right? So I know our video that we're going to show here in a minute is going to go through a lot of information, but do you want to kick it off with just once again, obviously where you're at right now, we're going to get a look at that, but, how do you define prefabrication?
So that actually is a good question because in our industry and construction, offsite manufacturing, prefabrication really is such a broad spectrum. So I won't go into all of the different definitions and sort of nomenclature, but what I will tell you is when I say prefabricated exterior wall panels, what I mean by that are opaque wall envelope solutions that really are the exterior wall assembly for us, starting with your exterior stud framing, all the way out through finished facade. These are units that are built off-site, as you see here behind me, and then they are taken to the site, flown onto the building, and are completely waterproof units as they go onto the building that just require a bit of transitioning or detail work there in the field to really complete the final piece of the envelope.
Well, and I know we've got a great video that we're going to show, but thanks for that definition. And I think, there's so many benefits. Once again, our video is going to get into it. I'm so excited that, we are still connecting live here today. So this gives everybody the opportunity to ask Sam some questions. So I already have a couple, but why don't we go ahead and show that video so everyone can see about that time we spent together in a quick 7-minute, I think, segment. And then we'll be back with you guys live again afterwards to answer your questions. So everyone, let's take a look at this video of when I was in Dallas, when it was raining in Dallas as well. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Build Meets World. I got out into the field. I'm in Dallas with my friend Sam.
Hi.
Sam, what are we doing here today?
We're talking about prefabricated exterior wall panels.
How exciting. I'm so excited. So I met Sam, gosh, I don't know, maybe a year ago?
Yeah.
Probably about a year ago. He came to Cleveland.
We were doing a bunch of testing at the test wall, got some time to chat and look at a bunch of different things as it relates to obviously prefabrication and how we make those connections. And we made a nice connection.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be able to work with him, be here today. So we're obviously in the office space right now, but Sam's going to take me on a little tour of one of our projects and what they're working on outside. So what are we going to see when we go out there?
In our fabrication facility out yonder, what you're going to see is really the full kit and caboodle of what we do here off-site. So that is going to be for the UHS Women and Children's project, prefabricated exterior wall panels. That's going to take you from framing, sheathing, air weather barrier, exterior insulation, and ultimately your skin metal panel facade.
Awesome. So it's pretty cool. Today it's raining in Dallas. I come to Texas and it rains. Come on.
Yeah.
But work's still going on here. I love how it's all staged appropriately too, right? So you want to make sure whatever the guys need is somewhere in that area.
So I'll take that even further.
Yeah.
The way that we approach fabrication is manufacturing. So think about, what you would see at automobile manufacturing. One person or a group of people are performing that task over and over again. Maybe they're installing the dash or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's the way that we approach our fabrication here. So we have, we call them stations. There are a particular set of processes that are performed at each station without giving too many trade secrets away. Really, it's kind of as simple as that. So the panels, start their life being framed and sheathed, and then they start to move through the manufacturing process. So our workers stay, the work comes to them. So that panel will move along through each of those steps of the fabrication process.
So do you have specialists then in each area, or do they follow the panel through?
No, we have folks that are very specifically trained, experts at the processes that they are performing. So what that does is allows for us to ensure that you have maybe just a handful of folks that are waterproofing the entirety of your building, which is pretty atypical. So they are experts in their task at hand.
That's great. So you're looking at the same trades and skill set that you'd see on site, but you're doing it in a controlled setting.
And even more focused. I mean, we've all seen a large exterior wall, and there may be 28 different waterproofers on the side of it, right? So yeah, maybe you're coming to one single company and you have an expectation of that company's level of performance. But I would say we're taking that a step further where, you've got Marcy and Sam and that consistency.
That's
right.
Great. I love that. So as we go through this process out here, like I said, I love how everything's staged. You got that expertise. Is there other advantages? I'm thinking of now everything's more in a horizontal versus a vertical.
Yeah, without question, the opportunity for quality is significantly better in this type of approach. Every single square inch of the skin is assembled, manufactured at waist height. You talked about weather, so even if it was really windy on the side of the building but not raining, your productivity is going to be lower. You would say, within reason, your quality would be lower.
Could
suffer. With this factory-controlled environment, with the accessibility to the work, it is expected to be at the highest quality that you could have in the industry, really.
I'm so impressed with the coordination of it all, right? Because I think once you guys are done, it essentially goes out onto a trailer.
So the moment that it really rolls off the assembly line, it is a truly finished good. Those panels get loaded onto semi-trailers and essentially head to the construction site. Those panels don't go from the trailers to the ground for staging. Those panels go directly onto the building itself. So you're talking about a true finished good off of the assembly line. Going right onto the building.
So from a scheduling perspective, obviously everyone's suffering from material shortages and stuff like that. In this setting, it doesn't mean that you don't experience them, but you're almost way ahead of it, right? So that it's not suffering at the job site.
Really way ahead of it is, a good sort of nomenclature to describe how we approach it. Every bit of design coordination work by Baker Prefab is done in Revit, so 3D. What that allows for us to do is to understand very precise quantities of materials, to order those materials very early on. So again, we were talking a little bit earlier about risk management, procurement, and having the quantities known exactly is how we risk manage that and stay way ahead of these current material issues.
And I love just the attention to detail, right? I think you touched on it, just being able to get right up there. If you have a question and Ken needs to come in, he's coming here and he's coming right to that panel and taking a look at what you need help with or have a question about.
It is, almost scientific in the ability to inspect the work, to perform even the work. Every single prefab panel has 3 big QC checklists, sort of the framing, sheathing, waterproofing, and then your finish. So you're starting to increase the level of QC exponentially.
Right.
So you're QCing within a sandbox of, say, average 200 square feet versus, maybe a day's worth of work or maybe whole elevations worth of work.
Right. And then accessing it to see it.
Yeah, we're not going to mill gauge, once over 1,000 feet. We're mill gauging every 200 feet.
Yeah.
And that's significantly different than you would
significant.
experience in conventional construction.
Well, and then once again, we like consistency, right, in our expectations and in our finished work. And here you've got that consistency, right? So you're not going to have the temperature swings and all that other kind of stuff that you'd have to deal with from a quality perspective. So tell me, as we look at staging, especially here in terms of space, if you had a pre-applied air barrier like Secure X 430, how does that help you?
So manufacturing, you have to have different considerations for what the challenges will be. One of the biggest challenges for us is cure time, dry time. With ExoAir 430, we immediately eliminate the cure time for fluid applied air weather barrier. On top of that, Baker is really a huge fan of a factory applied air weather barrier. So with the 430 board, that is really helps us sleep a little easier at night, knowing that we've got a factory applied air weather barrier to begin with. As we're actually installing it on the panel, we are not having to build in cure time. I mean, we have some conditions where we're talking about 24, 36 hours of cure where you're not touching that panel in a manufacturing line.
Yeah.
So imagine if you couldn't touch your work on a factory line for a day and a half.
Yeah.
That's significant. So having this opportunity with this product has been a real game changer for us.
Glad to hear it. Now, I know today we're going to go out and see some of this in action. I know you call them bays, right? So the bays kind of consist of different projects, right?
Yes.
So this isn't your only facility, right? You have some additional bays nearby.
Yes. So at this facility, we are running 2 large projects, UHS Women and Children's Hospital in San Antonio. And then the second bay here is Lowe's Ocho Hotel in Arlington, Texas, just across the street from Jerry World and the ballpark in Arlington.
Yep.
And then we have additional fabrication capacity just south of town here where we can really turn up the dial and crank some panels out.
Awesome. So maybe we'll catch up with you there sometime. Well, Sam, thanks for hosting us today. I'm excited to get out there. I'm sure you guys are too. Let's go take a look at all that's going on just on the other side of this wall.
So a couple questions came in while they were seeing that video that I'm going to ask you now, so hopefully that's okay. You mentioned Revit. Now, prefabrication, panelization is not something new. How did Revit, if you could answer that, how did Revit kind of improve your world? How did that technology, how does that make a difference for you guys?
So from the moment we start engaging with design teams through literally, as you can kind of see maybe over my shoulder here, we're loading a panel onto the trailer. All of that communication really takes place through Revit. We are able to get the Revit models from the architect. We can start prefab design implementation right at that stage. We then can do the good old-fashioned, SIM coordination with the general contractor, with the trade partners, and then for internal use, from engineering to panel design to shop drawings to stud framing to literally what the panels will be stacked and the dimension of how they will be stacked on the trailer. All of that work is handled in Revit. So I feel very comfortable saying that what Baker has done with the use of Revit is we have taken it to the extreme, where we're dead in the water without Revit. So I know maybe that's an oversimplification of things, but that's just to show or to tell you how crucial of a tool it is for us and how valuable it is for us.
Well, I am old enough to have been around prior to Revit. I walked to school uphill both ways, but no, seriously,
Both ways,
I can't.
Yeah.
Both ways, you know. But yeah, I think that's just, it's so great. I mean, taking that, what Revit can do for you, and then in terms of coordination, right? So it's just that next level of coordination, you know, once again, to give us that consistency that we're looking for projects. Another question that came in was about job size. Is there an optimum size of a project that you would consider is perfect for panelization, or is there a job that, okay, this job's too small, or it's not, it doesn't make sense? Talk to me a little bit about that, if you could.
So without going through each of the sort of big picture value points of prefab, so without going into the safety or quality or speed, kind of just simplifying it, all jobs could benefit from the use of off-site manufacturing prefabrication. What Baker has experienced is there definitely is, I won't say a sweet spot, I'll sort of say the derivative of that. There's projects that for certain reasons don't exactly lend themselves to being a home run for prefab. But I will tell you, I mean, we have a client that has one-story hospitals, outpatient centers all over the country, and they see the value in it. So I can make an argument that it's not about building height. We've done small square footages of buildings. We do high-rise towers frequently. So to answer your question, no, there is not a right or wrong. It's about the value that the stakeholders think that prefab brings to the table, and how they're making an investment in those value points.
Great. Yeah, and I think you touched on it, the safety aspect, the uniform installation of it all. I think those benefits, that are even for that one story as well as a multi-story application. So another question that we're getting is in terms of, and we might have touched on it either in the video or I know we touched on it when I was there with you, but is there, from a project perspective, does prefabrication allow you to kind of engage in projects, maybe more projects than you normally would, because you can kind of set them out and stage them a little better than maybe, absolutely more than if you're in the field? Can you talk to me a little bit about like that ability to work on several projects at once?
Sure. So, the way that we handle, we have really two sort of drivers of scheduling for prefab. That's the fabrication and installation. Fabrication is the first scheduling game of Tetris that we play. So just like a lot of traditional construction happens, you're having to allocate and plan for your crew sizes. You're having to, make sure you don't have gaps for trade partners like Baker that have field crews, right? We want to make sure there's steady and consistent work. So that's really kind of the first thing that we're doing here in our scheduling. We have a forward look ahead that, we look 36 months in advance. And so we're identifying where we think projects are going to get fabricated. So then we're identifying how many panels, the throughput per day. Our scheduling guru is right here behind the camera on my side. But that is a very serious part of our internal approach and sort of our approach to market, is looking at when we have fabrication capacity and how these jobs need to, fit within there. So we're not shy about telling clients that maybe we're a little more aggressive on this one because we could backfill the work. We really could use it. Or maybe we're telling them we're less aggressive because it's just not a great fit. And so it would really sort of push our capacities. So yeah, it is something that you have to pay great attention to.
And I think this is something else we touched on, but just to kind of maybe elaborate on it is the scheduling, right? Like you just talked about, but with raw material shortages, when you're planning 24 to 36 months out, you're not feeling that stoppage on site, that you would maybe in other instances, right? Because that stop of the job is going to occur at your facility, not out there on the site.
With the controlled environment that we have, the moment we say we're scheduling the start of fabrication, that's a milestone moment that we try in every fiber of our beings to not have that date move. A big part of that is material procurement. So it does make the challenge a little more defined to say, okay, we're going to start fabricating this project on July 15th, 2023. What does the material procurement look like to not affect that? And then we can manage, we know what the throughput is in this factory environment. So we know every 30 days, we know on a daily basis, but we know, for a 4-week period what the throughput, what the material usage is going to be. So yeah, like everyone else, we are experiencing some challenges in getting materials, but we can really sort of refine exactly when we're going to be needing them, because it is such a science of usage that we can say, okay, we don't need all this material for day one. We can supplement, a pallet of air weather barrier a month will feed this job. And we know it is absolutely just that quantity that we'll be using for those 4 weeks. So it allows you to just look at procurement differently and manage it in a more controlled way, in my opinion.
Well, and I know, once again, we said this, but I think it's worth reiterating, as it's raining here, and if it was raining there, you're not factoring in those days because it's, not going to rain inside where you're sitting. So you're not factoring in those weather delays from an installation perspective.
Yeah, absolutely not. Our biggest hurdle to that is when construction on site backs up, then we have to figure out what to do with all the panels.
Yeah.
Which,
because I think you mentioned,
a lot of people would say is a good problem to have, but it is still a problem.
Yeah, your panels go right from where you're at right to the job site without touching the ground. They go out and up. So that's a pretty cool concept.
Absolutely.
So, if somebody's interested in maybe learning a little bit more, finding out a little more information, do you happen to occasionally host people at your location at different events, maybe different opportunities?
So this world, this new-ish world of off-site manufacturing, prefabrication, one of my fundamental beliefs is that, folks like you and I have an obligation to what I describe as spreading the word, right? Sort of spreading the gospel of prefab. So we try and have open doors here to really anyone that will listen, right? Any of the flock that will come to see us. Getting awfully religious here in sort of terminology, but yes, we encourage anyone viewing today. If you haven't experienced a conversation or seen a fabrication facility, there are folks like Baker around the country. You could feel free to reach out to me or Marcy, and we can point you in that direction. But that's really the first thing that you need to do, is to start to understand what opportunities are out there. So visit your trade partners, visit the fabricators, get in touch with the manufacturers that are supplying components of those assemblies, because they know who to talk to. So yes, we are open door here very frequently. We have last week we had a nice Tremco tacos and tequila event here, where we got as many envelope consultants as drunk as we could, and toured them around and talked prefabrication and envelope quality assurance. So we try and have a little fun with it too, I guess you could say, but spreading the word is crucial.
So now we're going to show videos that were captured last week during the tequila tasting. Just kidding. There isn't. We don't have any. I'm just kidding.
I don't
I'm
remember
just kidding.
this.
I'm just kidding. So I know, sorry. No, but in all seriousness, I love how you just mentioned that. Like, that's absolutely what we're all about. That's what you're all about. When you're working with a manufacturer or trade partner, or whoever it may be, this is the type of cooperation, coordination, and discussions that need to be had. Open door policies here, open door policies there, in terms of being able to engage. And absolutely, it is. I think it's very important for people like ourselves and those of you watching, educating the industry as much as possible, right? So that, we're building those buildings to perform long term. So awesome. So no super secret videos or photos, I promise. But thank you, Sam, once again for being a part of it. Look forward to coming and catching up with you again in Dallas real soon. Any final words for everybody watching?
Yes. Prefabrication is not a product, it is an approach. Baker, I believe one of the fundamental reasons we've had so much success in this area is because we're not putting pressure on the market with a certain aspect or forcing prefabrication into their life. We're talking about the benefits, and that these are the same really kit of parts that are part of conventional built construction. We're just approaching it in a different way. And if you really enforce that message, I think it takes the apprehension level down. And that's really the first thing that we're trying to do, is just get people, comfortable and excited with this approach. So that's my recommendation. Those are my parting words, Marcy.
No, I think that's great. I think that the systems approach is absolutely the way to go. That's where you're going to get that long-term performance and that peace of mind at the end of the day. So Sam and everyone at Baker Prefab, thank you for joining us once again, and have a good rest of your day. Happy Mother's Day to all those moms out there. So Sam, I'm sure you're going to do something special for your mom. So wish her a happy Mother's Day.
You get a prefab panel.
Well, I would want.
It's gonna be heart-shaped though.
So please. That's awesome. Okay, thanks everybody for joining us today, and thanks Sam once again. Have a great rest of your day.